Today is December the 19th, 2013. My name is Tanya Finchum, along with Alex Bishop. We're with Oklahoma State University, and today we're in Noble, Oklahoma, to speak with Fred Scott. And this is regarding our Oklahoma 100-Year Life project. So thank you for having us today. Let's start with learning when and where you were born.
Okay. I was born northeast of Norman, out in the country. My daddy's name was Elmer Scott. My mother was Molly Scott. When I was born, my daddy skipped out. I never have seen him in my life. I don't know nothing about a daddy at all. Nothing about it. Okay. My mother, back then there wasn't nothing to do. She went to live with her grandmother, which is my great-grandmother. Okay. There's my great-grandmother, my grandmother, my mother, and me living in this house. I'm a baby. We all took the typhoid fever in 1916. The day that my grandmother was buried, my mother died. And they told him, if you can feed that baby, he might live. In other words, he's going to die. And my mother said, well, if he dies, I want to die too. So she'd give me a drink of water and drink after me. Now, this is what I've been told by my great-grandmother who raised me when I was little. And she was old then, 85 or maybe 90. I don't know how old she was. I forgot the year my mama died in. I was 4 years old and I was born in 11. So she died in 1916. My mother did. Well, and so did my grandmother. Okay, I'm living with my great-grandmother, who's old. I couldn't even swallow her. I couldn't even eat. I didn't want to eat. She gave me chicken soup every hour with a spoon and opened my mouth, put it in there, rubbed my throat. I finally come out of it a little bit. After we'd done that for a while, she said when she come to me, I had my mouth open.
What's your birthday?
My birthday is June the 30th, 1911. June the 30th, 1911. Okay. And my mama died in 16. So, I should remember her. I never seen her face. You had typhoid fever. I couldn't start to school till I was 7 years old. I had to walk 1.25 miles and
Where did you go to school?
Pleasant Hill, Robin Hill now. Up from the primary through the 8th grade, right there. And then I went to high school for 1.5 years. And then I didn't have no more money, so I had to quit. My guardian never gave me a dime in his life. He never brought me an ice cream cone. He never gave me a Coke in his life.
Can you explain that? Like,
huh?
What do you mean by guardian?
Who
was that?
He was my... I guess you'd call it guardian. I don't know.
But was it an aunt, an uncle, a neighbor?
What?
Was it an uncle or a neighbor? Your great-grandfather?
My great-grandmother was old.
Mm-hmm.
She owned a farm. And her son moved in with her.
Okay.
And he's the one that became my guardian.
Mm-hmm.
And then my little butt went to work. That's all he knew was to work. Work, work, work. Don't tell me you can't do it. You see some of these you do be done, get your butt out there and do it. That's the way I was raised. Yeah, he did. Me and his wife, when I was 10, 12 years old. When I was 12 years old, I rode my pony to town and bought a 410 gauge single barrel shotgun, carried it home on my pony. I was 12 years old, I could harness a team and go to the field. They put a box in there so I could stand on it to put the harness on the horses.
And those are pretty big horses back then.
Well, they had big horses and they had big mules. My land, they had to pull a plow all day. Look here. See them horses over there? That's my team. I had another team bigger than that. See that horse? No, you can't see it.
Here's his horse right here. He's giving,
What's this horse doing?
he's giving you a kiss.
That's right, she's giving me sugar. Do you think a horse will give you sugar?
Only if I had sugar.
I could be standing out in the lot. She'd walk up behind me. I wouldn't even know she's there. She'd hit me in the head with her nose.
What was her name?
Huh?
Did she have a name? Did she have a name?
Gracie. And of course, I knew what she wanted. She wanted me to go feed her. Okay, she'd head for the barn. And if I didn't follow her, she'd walk down there a ways, turn around and look back and see what. Then she'd come back. Come back to me. I said, all right, Gracie, give me some sugar. I'll go feed you. Whenever she come up to me and give me sugar, I know what she wanted. I love horses. You hit one of them horses with a strap in your forehead. I could hook them onto anything and tell you in 5 seconds if they could pull it or not. And if they couldn't pull it, I did not hit them. I didn't have to. They was putting out all they had. Why? Because I fed them. I took care of them. They took care of me.
So did you farm?
Huh?
Did you farm?
Sure. And I wished I could still farm, but I had to quit. Tinkerfield opened up in 1945. Everybody went to Tinkerfield to work. Okay? I had 160 acres. I had 80 acres. I had 6 acres of my own. Of course, now this 160 and that 80 was rented property. Okay? But I farmed it with horses. I had a good horse outfit. And I could do it, but people went to buying tractors, and I had to hire somebody to thrash my oats and thrash my wheat. Had to get somebody to bale the hay with somebody with a baler. I could do the rest of it. I weighed 135 pounds, and I could handle 70-pound bales of hay all day.
Well, did you go to Tinker to work too?
Huh?
Did you go to Tinker to work too?
No! I was busy on the farm. I was doing what I loved to do. But when Tinkerfield opened up, everybody went up there. I couldn't get nobody to thrash my grain, nobody to bale my hay, so what am I going to do? Go in debt $50,000 for a tractor and all this here stuff to farm with? No, sir, not me. So I sold out. Had a sale, farm sale. Well, I come to the house with a wagon full of corn. And there was a man I went to school with and his boss from OU. And they said, Fred, we want you to come go to work for us. And I'd never said a word to them about nothing. But they knew, I guess, they'd heard something I was going to quit. So they come, we want you to come go to work for us. So I sold out, moved to town, went to work for OU. And of course, the first thing we did, we bought a 2-bedroom house on Jones Street, 1210 North Jones. Guess what they give for it? $2,000. We get $4,000 for it. 2 bedrooms.
And when you say we, you mean you and your wife?
Yeah, me and my wife. We give $4,200, I think, or something like that. Okay, I improved it all the time that I was working for 20 years. We sold it. My daughter sold it the other day for $97,800. I give $25,000 for it. But I worked. I improved it. My yard didn't have no weeds, period. No other grass, just Bermuda grass. My lot was 100 foot wide and 387 feet long. And that's where I raised all them tomatoes and all that stuff. After my wife, in her last years, she had a bad time.
So how did you meet your wife?
How did I meet her?
Yeah.
Okay, the first time I seen my wife, she was 8 years old, sitting in her daddy's lap, combing his hair. And her daddy fought in the Civil War. Now, not World War I, the Civil War. He was 73 years old when my wife was born. And the reason why I went over to her house, my guardian's wife and me, and of course we drove the wagon to buy some apples. And they had the prettiest apple orchard you ever saw in your life. And that whole 80 acres was just orchards and berry vines and old poor Sand Hill farm. Okay, guess what she got for them apples? 25 cents a bushel. I mean good, pretty, fresh, perfect apples. 25 cents a bushel. There was 4 wagons out there loading up with apples. Well, what in the world was they going to do? They drove to Norman and peddled them for 50 cents a bushel. That's how people made a living back there. They didn't have no pension.
And you met your wife when she was 8. When did you get married?
Okay. When she was 8, when she was 13, I bought her first Christmas present.
What was that?
Huh?
What did you buy her?
I bought it here in town somewhere. It was a compact, little square shape like that. You open it up and it had a mirror and had a lipstick across the bottom and some rouge. Oh, it was... It's nice for them. She was tickled. Okay, she was 13. She was 16 the 9th day of August in 1929. We married the next day, which was the 10th of August, 1929. Our first child was born in 1932. Now he would have been, 81 or something like that, okay? The second one was a girl, and Mary Sue, and she was 2 years, so she was born in 1913. And then Carrie is the baby. She was born in 1940, Memorial Day. Now see, I'm 102 and a half, but I'm crazy. And I lost all the salt system out of my body, but They said it would come back slowly, but I've said things that, my goodness.
So you got married when your wife was 16?
Yeah. I was 18.
And did you go on a honeymoon or?
No. I borrowed $25 to get married on. The chivalry, I bought a box of cigars and some chewing gum, packages of chewing gum, juicy fruit chewing gum. You buy it for a nickel. Cigars was a nickel a piece or something like that, you know. And I give the men a cigar and I give the girls a package of gum. That was the chivalry. Okay, we got married on it was Thursday, and there was a man coming down the road in front of the house, and my wife was at her brother's house. And of course I was down there. And he had a flat tire. So I went out there and I said, well, Doc, you got a flat tire? Yeah. Back then, you had a car tool. You took the tar off. You patched the inner tube. You punched it back by hand. He said, I heard you kids wanted to get married. I said, yeah, but I got to have a job first. You couldn't get a job in 1929. The bottom fell out of everything. That's when the Great Depression started, was in 1929. You couldn't buy a job. You work all day long, 10 hours for $1. I've hoed corn all day, 10 hours for 10 cents an hour. Yeah. Oh, I've had a life. I've had a wonderful life. Okay. Do you believe what I'm telling you?
Yeah.
So what kind of work did you do for OU?
Yeah.
Okay. I started out delivering groceries. They had what they called a commissary. And they had, the quadrangle had 1,000 girls. Cross Center had 1,000 boys. Residential Hall had 365. And there was 65 or 70 athletic department. And then after I'd done that for a while, the butcher was an old man. He'd been a butcher ever since he was 16 years old. He was always behind. Well, when we'd get caught up with the groceries, I'd go in there and help him. Well, he had to have help. So he said, well, what they'd do, if you needed help, they'd send you over a dishwasher. Didn't know nothing about it. Okay, so he said, well, what about letting Fred help me? Well, I'd been helping him all the time, you know, coming in there and helping him. Well, he didn't know it, but when we was on the farm, I killed my own hogs. I cleaned them, I skinned them, I dressed them, I cured the meat. That's the way you live back there. And that's the reason why I'm 102. We raise what we eat. Okay? Now then, I forgot where I was.
You're talking about being hired as a
Okay, okay.
But
Then I went to work in the butcher shop.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I worked there 20 years. We got 20 head of cattle every Monday morning hanging on a rail to go in that shop. Ground 2,000 pounds of hamburger meat every week. The football boys, I cut every steak they ate. And all the ground meat. Ground it myself. We had a meat grinder, had a 7 horsepower electric motor on it. It had a bit out there that big. You could ground 50 pounds in 5 minutes. Ground 2,000 pounds without stopping. Okay. I had to take a vacation. I went on my vacation, 2 weeks, up Huntington, West Virginia to see my daughter. When I come back, the big boss, the head of the commissary department. He was the head of the housing department, I mean. Of course, he was over the butcher shop too, you know, the head of it, you know. Of course, I was the boss inside of the work, but that's all, just the work. Well, he met me at the door. Fred, we lost 2,000 pounds of meat while you was gone. I want to know why. I said, of course, I was stunned, you know. It's just 8 o'clock in the morning. There's all that beef hanging there on the rail. He said, no, you do it. You go. So I went down to the ladies' quadrangle, and we had to date the boxes. And there was a date on the box when the first week I was gone. And that's where the rotten meat was. Okay. I take the box back to the butcher shop. Well, when I get there, boy, he meets me. He wants to know why. I go in the meat room, the deep freezer. It was 60 foot square where we put the meat. I mean, we didn't fool long. We had 20 head of cattle every Monday morning. We had to have room to put it. And we had shelves that sat on zero night and day. Okay? When you get 2,000 pound hamburger meat, you go inside there and you take the boxes and you put them in them shelves. Well, we had a jack that had a long handle on it, hydraulic, and you could set 1,000 pounds of meat on it, push the handle down, one man could drag it in there. Okay, now it's been 2 weeks now. So that meat was sitting there on that flat, just piled up together, you know, them boxes. Well, the outside of the box would be all right, but the inside would be rotten because the freezer couldn't freeze it, you know. It's too thick, too much. But you're supposed to take it out of there and put it in them shelves. And them men that worked for me knew to do it. And so he took us all out there. And I said, well, Garner, that's his first name. I said, you know, I've always took up for my men. I said, I'm not going to take up for them this time. So they knew better. They knew what to do. And they know why the meat's spoiled. Then I took him in there and showed him. Boy, listen. Went outside. He told them boys, from now on, Fred grinds the hamburger meat. That's all. We had to stand up on a box. That thing was way up there. Boy, if you got your hand in there, I mean, it's gone. And we had to mix the fat with the lean. Mm-hmm. You get it too fat, and man, they've been getting it. The butcher shop, football boys, where they eat, is all complaining about the meat being fat. And there's a lady in there said, well, Fred didn't grind that meat, I'll tell you that right now. So Mr. Collins, he said, Fred is going to sit up there and put the meat in there. You hand it up to him. And we put it in a box, and the 50 pounds in a box. You carry it away. Lady, I know meat. You're not going to fool me on meat. I went to the butcher shop and I said, I want a choice rump roast. Well, he seen me looking at the counter. He knew good and well I knew that wasn't choice. So he goes in the back, cuts one off fresh, brought it out there. And I said, now I know, you know, I know that ain't what I told you I wanted. I can tell just by looking. I know what this meat, I know what the meat they serve here. There's 6 kinds. Prime, choice, good. Utility. Commercial. Utility. Canner and cutter. Now, canner and cutter is sore-eyed cows that's been sick. That's a poor, the backbone is sticking up like that. And the next grade up, if you'd see it, you wouldn't eat the meat. Okay? Guess what they serve here?
I know. What? What?
Well, now, I told you U.S. good. USDA good. That means it's inspected by the government. Okay, now USDA good is what the commissary bought. That's what the football boys eat and what everybody eat. It's good. It's inspected by the government. It's good. But prime and choice is fat. And that man told me, he said there is not a choice piece of roast in this town. The housewife won't buy it. It's too fat. But you can see white streaks are running through the lean. Man, it's tender. You take a T-bone steak off a choice steer, I don't care if he weighs 2,000 pounds. That meat has got fat running through it. And if it don't have, that's where you get the taste on meat. I know this meat here, it can't be, it's a 4th or 5th grade. I'd say it's its 5th grade. It's utility.
You said you raised tomatoes.
Huh?
You raised tomatoes.
That's later on. Yeah. After I quit the university.
Well, how old were you when you quit? Yeah.
When I quit the university?
Yeah.
It was in I retired in 76, and it was 10 or 12 years before that, so it would have to be, 68 or something like that, or 67, somewhere along those, when I left the commissary. Mm-hmm. Okay. Then me and my wife saved her money, all we could, and we bought a lot down Lake Texoma, down Cumberland Cove. Okay? We bought this lot, and then we built a house on it. While we was building this house, the university didn't want me to quit. They wanted me to stay there. And my wife's sister lived down there. So, my wife stayed down there with her sister half the time and watched them build a house. Well, when they got the house built, then, of course, I moved down there then. I quit the university and moved down there. I think it was 1964, something like that. Okay. It took me a year to fix the yard and fix everything up like we wanted it. When we left a beautiful place. Then I got a job in the butcher shop. $60 a week, and I said, no, give me 65 and I'll come. Okay, they give me $65 a week. Well, I had to work till 10 o'clock on Saturday. Well, I hadn't been used to that. So I walk across the street to the county assessor's office, and I get acquainted with the county assessor, and I get acquainted with the sheriff and the county treasurer. And
this is what county?
Marshall County.
Marshall County.
Yeah. And I get acquainted with the people. And the bank, I got acquainted with the banker because I put my money in the bank. Okay? So I got acquainted with a lot of people. Now, I walk across the street and put my application in the county assessor's office. Well, I heard she was going to retire. So I went over there and put my application in. And she called me over there one day. And by the way, she gave me the job. Well, here I am. I don't remember how old I was. Anyway, she gave me the job. Well, they was young people put their application in. And I worked there 3 months, and I said, I called her by name. Let's see. Now, I know her name. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Anyway, I said, how come you to hire me when I told you I didn't know one thing about it? She said, if I'd have hired that college graduate, he'd have been here 3 months, much as you have. He'd be telling me what to do. And the other man been in business 19 years on the square. She wanted somebody to do what she wanted them to do. Okay, so she gave me the job over all these other young people. Okay. I worked there 5 years, and she retired. So I run for the office. And there was 2 men running against me when they found out I was going to run. There's 2 men running against me. One of them had been in business 19 years right there on the square, selling car parts. Another one was a college graduate, lived in the south end of the county. Here I am, a little... Okay. You know you have to make a stump speech. Okay. Guess what I said on the stump speech? I said the 2 men that's running against me are both good men, but I'm the one that's qualified for the job. Oh, that's all I ever said. I never said one bad word about them. Not one. I've never said this and done that and this and done that. Not one word did I say. Okay. When election day come, I had a son lived in Norman, and he come down to my deal one that's going to count the votes to hold my head, he said. Well, I just have been in the county 7 years. These guys had my land. Okay. When the votes was counted, I had 169 votes more than both of them put together. You do not have to run somebody down to make you look good.
Agree.
Tell it like it is. These men are good men. I'm the one that's qualified. That's all I ever said. You wouldn't believe what was told on me. I got 69 votes more than both of them put together. Yeah, that meant there wasn't no runoff. There wasn't nothing unelected. I'm it. Right there. When they counted the votes, I'm it. Okay. Now, I didn't have no trouble because I'd been there 5 years. And I hired one of the other girls. No, she hadn't been working there. But I hired a young woman that I knew. And when I quit, why, I gave the job to her. She didn't have to run. I wrote the county commissioners a letter. You didn't know county commissioners control the county, but they could have a lot to do with it. And they gave her the job. Just give it to her. Because on my recommendation that they do that. Well, she knows what to do. Okay, they gave her the job. She retired from that county assessor's office. She stayed there 20 years. Okay, you think she didn't praise me? Mm-hmm. I just gave her the job over all them other people. Now, the reason why I got that many votes, the bank was for me, the courthouse was for me, the post office was for me, the grocery stores was for me. The Baptist people of Marshall County was for me. That's kind of hard to beat when you get. Now, if I'd have been a destructive person that run people down, do you think I'd have been that popular?
Nope.
Do you know why I was that popular? I taught Sunday school for 70 years in the church. Moved to 4 different churches. Okay, every time election day come to elect new teachers, which is once a year in the Baptist church. Whenever election time come, I'm the teacher. Because when I joined the church, I went to Sunday school in that class. Okay, when I come get a teacher, I'm the teacher. I didn't ask for the job. Now, that Bible, you're going to have a hard time finding something in there that I don't know something about it. I've read it through, I've read it. You're not going to teach Sunday school, the adult men. When I started when I was 27 years old, teaching the adult men. There was men in my class 40 years old, 50 years old. There was deacons in my class. Here I am, 27 years old. But the next year, I'm the teacher. The next year, I'm the teacher. I didn't ask for it. Every church I joined, and I was just at 3 other churches. When Sunday school time come, I'm the teacher. Mm-hmm. Now why? Because I'm aggravator, I'm mean, I'm mad, you know.
Well, that's being sarcastic now.
I'm sarcastic, yeah. Yeah.
Well, has religion always been a central part of your life?
Huh?
Has religion always been a central part of your life?
Oh, it's always been. Church has always been.
Church?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is it about church that's been important to you?
The main thing about church is Jesus died for your sins and my sins. And even what's hard for me still yet, you take a bum, you take a dope addict, he died for him, same as he did me or you. But you have to accept him as your Lord and Savior. You got a choice. You can accept him or reject him. Do what you want to. But if you don't accept him, you know where you're going to go. And if you do accept him, you know where you're going to go. But when you accept him, you live for him. You do the best you can. You don't. Somebody asked me one time, and I said, well, it's because I don't smoke, I don't chew, I don't run around with them that do.
Well, what's your motto to life?
Huh?
What's your motto for living and your philosophy?
My motto?
Mm-hmm.
Well, my main thing is to live a good Christian life. Live a good life. Don't run around, don't. Listen, you are looking at a one-woman man. I never trifled on my wife, not even one time. And when we was going together, she'd slap your face. I'm a one-woman man. Now, you know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
When my wife passed away, that's a little over 2 years, she injured her spinal cord. She was completely paralyzed. She didn't even know when she went to the bathroom. Okay, she's laying there in that bed over 2 years now. and she got a sore on her tailbone. Well, we called in a nurse, and she said, well, you need to call a doctor. So we called a doctor, and he told me what to do. And we got it healed up pretty quick. Okay. Now he said, I'll tell you what, if you don't want her to have a sore, you turn her over every 2 hours. Now here I am, I'm 85. I turn my wife every 2 hours, day and night, by myself. Nobody helped me. By myself. Okay? People didn't believe it hardly, you know. Well, I bought a van, an old Dodge van. Give $2,000 for it. It had a side door to it and a push button. Your thing come out, push a wheelchair on it, push her in the van. And I took her to the grocery store. Her mind was sharp. She didn't lose her mind. It's good. But all she could do was this and talk. But she'd tell me what she wanted. And I'd still buy it and do what she wanted me to do.
She was the boss.
And her in that shape like she was. Okay. We went to the grocery store. I noticed a stream of water following us. So I had to quit because she got so bad. Okay. We got up one morning, we're going to go to the store. I put her got her in the wheelchair, picked her up out of bed. You ever pick up somebody paralyzed?
It's very
You ought
hard.
to try that sometime.
It's dead weight.
You ought to try that sometime.
It's
You bet your life
dead weight.
it's work like picking up a log.
Yep.
Okay, I'd pick her up out of bed and set her in that wheelchair. And then wheel her out there to the van and put her in the van and lock it in there. Then I'd go around and get in the driver's seat and go to the grocery store. Now that takes time and that takes work. Okay? I put her in the van, we're going to go to the store. I walk around to the driver's side and I smell her. And she was always thin. I want you to know that the one thing to do, that's to take her out, pick her up, put her in the wheelchair. Here she is in that mess. Then I go in the house, then I pick her up out of the wheelchair and fix the bed, put a rubber pad on it, put her in the bed, clean her up, then I got to go clean the wheelchair up. Need to tell you, we didn't go to the store that day. Well, okay. I didn't ask nobody to help me. I done it myself. She's my wife. And I've heard people tell me, well, I took care of my mother. You did? Yeah, I was there every day from 2 to 4. Wonder what they done the other 10 hours. Or the other. But they took care of them. 2 hours a day. I know what taking care of the sick is. Now, I mean take care of them. I don't mean just walk in, how are you doing today, and walk out. That's not taking care of them. I know what it is to take care of people. I feel so sorry for these people here. I want to help them so bad. One lady, she'd get in the wheelchair. She'd run into the table. Oh, there she is, she's stuck. And I take my wheel. I can't walk, so I took my wheelchair over there. And I said, lady, if you'll hold this wheel still and move this wheel, it'll push you away from the table. The next day, she'd right back again the table again. You can't help them. They don't even know why they're here.
So, well, what's a day? What's a day like for you?
Day like?
Yeah.
It's misery.
What time do you get up and go to bed, and what do you do during the day?
Now I go to bed about 10 o'clock or 9:30 or 10 o'clock. But now then, I could go to bed by myself, but I don't. I have a girl. I push a button, and a girl comes in here, and she'll turn the bed down for me, and go around there, and she'll pull my pants off, and pull the cover back, and I'll get in the bed, she'll cover me up, and of course I've got to have a urinal, and she'll hand me that thing, you know, and I'll take care of that myself. Okay, when it gets full, I don't know when it's full because I can't see it, you know. I can't get up and look, but I'll pull it up there and I'll push the button. They'll come and get it and empty it. I have had them to come and empty it and walk right out that door. What else do you want? Do you need something else? No, please. Back out the door. They're taking care of me. Now, one thing about this place here, it is clean. If these breeches gets a spot on them, this shirt gets a spot on it, they'll change it. Right there. You got to be clean. If somebody comes in here, the people are clean, the place is clean. It's a nice place. I got 2 daughters. Daddy, just think, you'll have a nice, clean, warm place to stay. You'll have 3 meals a day.
So what types of activities do you do here?
What?
What type of activities do you do here every day?
I can't even have a conversation. The people that work here are busy. They can't talk to you. There's nothing wrong with the ladies that come in here and wait on you. I'm not talking about them. And the lady they got a boss over this place. Okay. Now she tells her workers what to do. They do it, what she says do. She's got a boss over her. Don't tell them there's 3 or 4 men own this. You know what they say? They're probably living in a nice place in Oklahoma City or Kansas City or somewhere. Send them the money. That's all in God's world they want is the money. The people that own the place.
I want to back up because you were you said to hold on for a minute, but tell me about your garden, your tomatoes, and what you did.
Well, now when my wife died, she died in 1996. It was a Tuesday morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm crazy. Okay, we had the funeral. I'm left by myself. Well, I go out and plow my garden. Now, I take a sprayer. I've got two 2-gallon sprayers. I use one for my garden and one for my fence rows and the rough stuff. There is not a weed or a grass in my fence row. I cut all the brush off. It comes back new, I spray it. My fence rows is clean. You can go look today. Okay? The flower beds. I sprayed them. You know, all right, I keep the grass out of it. How'd you do that? Well, I just told you. I sprayed the fence row. They don't know Bermuda crawl over the fence. They don't crawl under the fence because I spray it. I go on the other side that belongs to the other fellow. And he don't care because he like to have a clean fence row too. So I spray it. Can you believe that? I live in town, no grass or no weeds in my fence row. Now don't go down there and expect to find it that way now. Because it's been 3 years. I had my daughters, they had it fertilized and all cleaned up. And where I raised the garden cleaned up. Where I raised tomatoes, no. Anyway, my wife loved flowers. I built a side room onto a little house that we had there on the place. The man that bought my house got 3 other buildings beside the house. One was a garage, and the other one was, my wife was a seamstress. And I mean, she made me a winter coat without even a pattern. I mean, she could sew anything. I bought her a touch and sew sewing machine. Cleaned that place up. I spent, I think, $5,000 on the inside of her shop where she worked. Built her a place back there to hang her clothes for her customers. Okay, she started to put a zipper in a pair of jeans. Broke a gear in that brand new sewing machine. Paid $365 or something for it. I don't know. I don't remember just how much. Anyway, it cost $60 to get a bearing put back in there. I said, well, Mama, I can fix that. She had an old singer in the house that she used to use, you know. So I go by a little table, pointed table, put it in the corner, cut a hole in it, stick that old singer in there. She's got a chair that's got roller wheels on it. She'd go from one chair to the other, from one sewing machine to the other. That didn't happen anymore. That took care of that problem. Well, see, now it's like raising a garden. They said, what do you want to do that for? My tomato rows was 5 foot apart. Well, you're just wasting land. Well, now, I'd go 6 times to every row planting it. You mean you went 6 times to a row to plant it? Okay, I rototill the ground. I've got a push plow by hand. Okay, I make a straight row. Now my rows wasn't like this. My rows were straight. You know how I make a straight row? You get up here at this end and you pick you out a fence row or a fence post or something and you go straight to it. Now you don't look up, you go straight to that place. Now, you don't put it deep, you don't strain it, you don't look off. Okay, then I use my rototiller, you know, and then I get out there 5 foot and I make a stake here, a stake there. Okay, and I had 7 rows of tomatoes, 200, I put 210 plants of tomatoes.
Mercy.
I say, how many tomato plants did you put? Oh, I bought 5 or 6 plants, 7 or 8 plants. How many, you know these bunches of onions you see that's got a green top on it, you know? And I said, how many onion plants did you buy? 3 or 4, you know, like that, you know. I put out 40. Legends Restaurant bought 160 onions every week. She bought 350 pounds of tomatoes in 5 days. And I still had 500 pounds of tomatoes in that house. I had it air conditioned with a window air conditioner. And I had a little 4-burner stove in there to heat it in the wintertime. My wife could get out there and sew day or night, wintertime or all. I went out there at 11 o'clock at night and made her quit sewing. She loved to sew that much. And she retired from John A. Brown. And she was the head of the ladies' ready wear.
Well, what's John A. Brown?
John A. Brown, there in Norman, out the university. It's on Lindsay Street. It's right west of Jenkins there, you know. It's on not Lindsay Street. It was on Boyd Street. And she wasn't working for Lowe's department store. Well, then she got a job working for Brown's. Well, Brown's, they left Norman for a year or 2. Then they come back to Norman. When they come back to Norman, they hunted my wife up where she works. She works for Lowe's. They went up there, and the first thing they told her, we'll give you $5 a week more than what you're making. They didn't ask her how much she made. We'll give you $5 a week more. Now, she must have been pretty good.
Must have been.
You go in there and buy a skirt from her. I've got a blouse over here and you just look wonderful in it. Just exactly match you. You'd look pretty. You'd look good. She knew how to sell that stuff. And she would, if it didn't fit perfect, she'd take it home and fix it. She didn't have to go get somebody else. She'd take it home herself and fix it. Well, needless to say, Brown made money off of her. That's the reason why they give her $5 a week more than what she's making. My wife was a worker, and I was a worker. You know how we saved money? Before she died, I was raising tomatoes before she died. And we canned stuff all the time. In my garage right there by the house, I had 9 shelves, 12 foot long, made out of 1x12s, 12 foot long, one right on top of the other, high enough to put a fruit jar in. We canned 300 quarts every year out of my garden. Now, how do you live to be 102?
Well, what is your secret?
Huh?
What is your secret?
My secret?
Yeah.
Well, the main thing is you can't be lazy and have a garden like that. Now, all I done was to mow my yard, do my spraying, and take care of my garden. That's all I done. Now, if my tomatoes need picking or if they needed hoeing or anything, I didn't say, well, I'll do it tomorrow. You got something needs to be done, get your tail out there and do it. Now, I could have said, well, I got to do this and I can't, okay, it's coming 2-inch rain that night. You can't get in the tomato patch for a week.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You go mow the yard. Oh, Dad. Great big old 13, 14-year-old boy, you know. Oh, Dad. About that time, here come a man up the sidewalk in a wheelchair. And he could just barely make it go. And I tapped my grandson on the shoulder and I said, son, you see that man? That man would give anything in the world if he could mow that yard. You know my grandson ain't forgot that yet. I never said, you sorry so-and-so. You see that man? I said that man would give anything in the world if he could mow that yard. Okay? That's all I needed to say.
When history is written, when history is written, what do you want it to say about you?
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. You can't say I'm lazy.
I know.
You know how we save money. My wife got sick. I said, Mama, the only way we're ever going to save anything, now let's take our Social Security check, put it in the bank, and forget we put it in there. I sold $4,000 one year out of my backyard, garden, tomatoes and stuff. $4,000. Whenever you raise a garden like I did, you'd be surprised how many friends you got. I give away $1,000 every year. One day, I went out to the garden and I picked 3 or 4 different kinds of stuff, took it to the house, washed it, cleaned it. I delivered to 5 different families. Free of charge, didn't cost them nothing. What you crazy thing. 3 of them was old widow women. And they love fresh vegetables. Them women were so proud to get that fresh, clean garden stuff just picked. I mean fresh. Just picked it. Washed it, cleaned it, took it to them. You know what? I'm not doing that to brag on myself. And I didn't do it for no money. But I'm going to tell you something. That's a peace of mind. I got more out of it than they did. That's a peace of mind. I don't have to worry about how I treated other people. Why do you think they kept me on the Sunday school? Now, I'm not going to tell you something I can't prove.
All righty.
Now, this is the way I sell my tomatoes. Now, that's a 610 box. 6 gallons of tomatoes or 6 gallon of peaches or anything's in the gallon. That would hold 6 of them cans. And there's 20 pounds of tomatoes there in that box. Now, every tomato in there has got the top turned down. Why?
I don't know. Why?
You put tomato in a plastic box. A lot of people put them in a plastic sack. That's wrong. I tell my customer, if you find a bad tomato, I'll give you 2. You think I'll take care of them? Now here's some on my table that's not ripe yet. You mean you pick them not ripe? Well, don't you know, you raise them on the vine, let them ripen on the vine, they taste good. Why? Them tomatoes won't be no count. Okay? I've got a big old plastic bag, plastic bowl thing. Fill it full of fresh water. Take a newspaper and double it, pull it through that water, and put it over them tomatoes. Then put some dry newspaper on top of that. In 24 hours, not over 30 hours, they'll be red ripe just like them in that box.
didn't know that, did you?
All right? They'll be just as good as them you pull off of the vine. Why? Did you ever go into a place where they raise tomato plants? Mm-hmm. They've got a pipe up here, water spraying out of it. They're not watering the tomatoes. What are they doing? Well, that's crazy. Just wasting water. Tomatoes love humidity. Now, why did I water them like that and cover them better? Creates humidity to ripen them tomatoes. Now, how did I know to do that? I went in a grocery store one time, and there's a man back there in the back, and he was putting the wet paper over some tomatoes. Why are you doing that for? I didn't forget it. Now, there's a truckload of watermelons, and I sold $5,000 worth of watermelons that year. Now that watermelon is it's got two words to it. Big green watermelon like that.
Black diamond?
Huh? Black diamond. That's what they measure. Every one of them. And there's 6 on there that'll weigh 60 pounds apiece. Okay, I just picked them. Don't try to sell something, push something off on somebody. Golden Corral bought that pickup load every week. Every week they buy a pickup load. Why? I sold it to them for $2 or $3 a piece. Well, they made money off of it. Now here's another table full of tomatoes.
What kind of tomatoes were they?
What kind of tomatoes did you raise?
Better Boys and Celebrity.
Better Boys and Celebrity.
A celebrity tomato. They're not big. They don't get great big.
No.
Legends didn't want great big ones. They just want one to put on a sandwich, you know. They don't care about weighing 3 pounds. I could make that one weigh 3 pounds if I wanted to. You plant a big boy. Okay? She loved the Better Boys, and she loved that, what did I say?
Celebrity.
Celebrity. A celebrity tomato will never crack at the top. You'll never get a celebrity tomato unless it's just set out in the hot sun. Nobody takes care of it. It might be. I never had one split on top. In other words, when you sliced a tomato, you didn't lose nothing. Just where the stem went in, that's all you lost. On mine. Okay? You think people don't appreciate that? Okay. Now here's what they look like when they get ripe.
We need one.
Now would you buy a tomato like that?
I would.
You think you would,
I
huh?
know I would.
Okay. Now see them green ones on there? 24 hours they'll be ripe. Look just like that. Now here is a pepper plant. He might want to see them other tomatoes, I don't know. Now here's another box of tomatoes. That's in that same house at the same time. Them's not the same table. Well, you go through there and look. They're not the same table. At one time, all them's out there in my house. And Legends, I took them 250 pounds. I still got 500 pounds out there. Well, what am I going to do? I go over to Walmart's. I get me 3 or 4 of them signs. And I stick one at the corner of Boyd and Classen. And I go down to Brook Street and I put another out. I live on Morden Street, which is the next street east. Go down there to the corner pour and class them, put another one. That's 3 or 4. Okay? The very next day, after I put them signs out, the next day, honey, now, I'm not lying to you. I had a roll of bills like that. And my curiosity was up. So I went to looking. They was 100 $1 bills in that roll. Now how come that? 100 $1 bills in that bunch. Now this is the way I pick my tomatoes. Now see how red ripe they are? 24 hours they'll look just like that. And when I pick them, I've got that vat of water there. They're not dirty because I never pick a tomato off of the ground. They never see the dirt. I made big wires. I give $70 for a roll of wire 5 foot high that they pour concrete on. And I got a pair of bolt cutters. And I made my own things to go around them. Now that wasn't give to me. They didn't give me that roll of wire. You got to spend a little money. That's what that guy told me. Said, my son-in-law, he come and said, Fred, what are you going to do with that? Said, well, you got to spend money to make money. Well, now this is the way I pick them. Now they'll be red ripe in 24 hours, like that, just like that. Because I put them on that clean table in a clean house. Every one of them was a stem down. Not a one. Every one of them was a stem down, not piled on top of one another. Take that paper, pull it through that water, and put it over them. I'll guarantee you in 24 hours they'll look like that. It's taking care of stuff. You mean to tell me? Okay. Now, I'll raise squash, cucumbers, other stuff. Basil. Basil. You know how high, do you ever buy any basil?
Not fresh.
You go to Oklahoma City or more anywhere, and you go to a place where they sell stuff. You'll give $30 for a pound. Now I went to Walmart's. I looked up on the counter. They had a bottle up there. Little plastic bottle, looked like a salt shaker. Okay. It had 3 or 4 little sprays. It said 1/2 of 1 ounce. $3.64. Now you go price it and see.
I believe you.
This lady that owns Legends Restaurant, I've been selling stuff there for a long time. She knows where I live. She knows what I do. And she knows how I take care of things. Okay, she don't call me and tell me what she wants. I don't ask her what she wants. I take what I got and she buys it. All except my green beans and okra. She wouldn't buy them 2 things. Everything else she'd buy. I tried to get her. I said, look, if you'll just fry some okra, I said, I know people like fried okra. I said, you give it to them one time and they'll ask for it. Her customers, they eat one of them tomatoes. Where did you get them tomatoes? That's the reason she could buy 350 pounds.
That's a lot of tomatoes.
The customer that she feeds, where did you get them tomatoes? Okay, now, I had to get a woman to help me. And I've got another picture in here. Anyway, what it is, on this back porch here is a concrete thing. Okay, now what she's doing is a washing beets or something. And I had to get her to help me pick. I can't pick 200 pounds of tomatoes and pick okra and pick green beans and pick squash, cucumbers. I can't do it. So I get her to help me. You know what? She didn't charge me anything. You know why? I told her, I said, anything you want, you go out there and get it. She'd walk out there with 3 or 4 sacks full of stuff. I didn't care. But she didn't charge me nothing. Why? That's how you make money. But you got to get your butt out there and take care of the garden. Now here's some garden stuff here. Okay, now here's some cucumbers right there. Now I don't know what all, that's turnips. Here's another wheelbarrow full of tomatoes, and here's another picture of me selling it. See them? Mm-hmm. That's the way I pick them. Okay, now, I was telling you about planting them. I started telling, I quit and went talking about something else. Okay, I go down that road with that garden plow. Now, I don't go deep, I just walk down there. I'm gonna make a straight road. Okay, then I come right back up that same road and plow deep. Well, that rototiller, there's not a clod in my garden. There's no clods out there. That rototiller will get it if you'll give it its time. Don't try to do it all in an hour. Anyhow. Now I've rototilled it. I went twice to that one row. Then I get me a stick 30 inches long. 30 inches long. Okay, I set it down here on that row. And I make a mark here and I make a mark here. Then I bring that stick over here and I make a mark here. And every tomato in that row is 30 inches apart. And every one of them's got that wire hoop around it. Now you think that don't look pretty? Now my rows is 5 foot apart. Man come there, well don't you know you're just wasting land. What are you doing that for? Well, now you got 2 rows of tomatoes. You sit down there between them 2 rows with a 10-gallon bucket to pick your tomatoes. Or that you fill that bucket, you go to the house to empty it. How many times you gonna go to the house emptying that bucket? You make your rows 5 foot apart, you push that wheelbarrow down there. There's 100 pounds in there. Mercy. Just one down 2 rows. There's 100 pounds of tomatoes there. But there's 32 tomatoes in each row. Every one of them is 5 foot apart in the row, 30 inches apart in the row. Okay. Now then, where I made that mark with that stick, I go get me some 10-20-10. That's a fertilizer. I put a tablespoonful at each one of them little marks. That's all, just a tablespoonful. Then I go get a box of Epsom salts. Epsom salts like you take. And I put a tablespoonful on each one of them. Okay. Now that's 4 times I went down that road. Okay, then I go down it and I mix that all up. That's 5 times. Then I go get my tomato plants out of the, I put one here and one here and one, everywhere on them marks are. They get out on my hands and knees, and now the dirt is so loose. All I got to do is pull it back this way and slap that tomato plant in there, slap the dirt on it. It's planted. 'Cause I got it ready. Use your head. I got it ready. It's easy. I don't have to work at it. 12-year-old kid could do it. Okay?
Well, I want to know, too, did you ever think you'd make it to 100?
I never even thought about it. When I was 99 years old,
You knew it was going to happen.
I sold $3,000 out of my garden when I was 99 years old. The next year I'm 100. That's 2010. I'm 100 years old. Okay, I fell and broke my hip. Well, I couldn't do it. Okay, the next year, 2011, I fell and broke this hip. I wasn't satisfied. I had to work.
Now, if you
Well, I was old like that and had my hips broke, you know, and I couldn't hold my balance. I'd get over balance, I'd fall. Hey, I fell just, it ain't been 6 months ago. I was in the bathroom, and they got a bar to hold to. Okay, well, I had to pull my pants up, you know. I turned loose of the bar. Okay, I fell. I hit my head on the door facing of the toilet, you know. I mean to tell you, I peeled it, boy.
and if you could give
Huh?
if you could give advice to fellow Oklahomans about living a long life, what would you tell them?
Work. Listen, don't never quit work because you're 65. That is no excuse. If you ever quit work, that's wrong. Now, this lady here,
Is retiring quitting?
retiree what?
If a person wants to retire, do you consider that quitting?
Well, a lot of people do. I got a son-in-law. I've already done my work. I'm 65. I've done my work. He sat down on his butt. It wasn't no time till he had Alzheimer's disease. Now then he can't do nothing. And my daughter can't do anything but stay there with him. He couldn't walk from here to that bathroom to get something. When he got in there, he'd forget what he went after. Okay? There's one of them again. Now here is some more bell peppers. There's another one of them. I think this is jalapeno peppers. I don't know. Okay. Now here is some cucumbers. Would you buy that cucumber there?
From you,
You would.
From you, yes.
You'd buy that cucumber. Okay, my son had a farm, east of Noble.
How old were you?
I don't know. Probably 85.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna stop here. I think
Huh?
I said we're gonna stop recording here if that's okay, and I'm gonna ask you a few questions.
Well, wait just a minute.
Okay.
That's my son's farm there, and I went down there and planted some stuff. Now, look here. What's in that picture?
Green beans, squash, cucumbers, and I don't know what that is back there.
That's beets.
Beets.
See, and I raise onions. And that I was going to tell you about that spice. What?
Basil.
Basil. Legends. Where our seller, she bought so much stuff. She comes by my house and she has 4 little packages of this garden stuff, you know, that's in the stand that you pick up. Fred, would you plant this for me? Yeah, what is it? Basil. I'd never seen any basil. I'd never seen any basil raised. What am I going to do? That's the littlest seed you ever saw. You cannot take it. I went down to the store and I bought a little round thing, and you put them in there, and it's got a wheel that you turn, and there's a little hole here, and a little bigger hole here, and a little bigger hole here. And I use next to the smallest hole to plant that basil. Put it in there and shake it a little bit, you know. I had about a 50-foot row. And I called her and I said, Rebecca, I believe that stuff's ready to pick. I didn't say basil. I said, I believe that stuff's ready to pick. She knows what I was talking about. Well, here she comes. She's got 2 men from the store with her. Each one of them's got a pair of scissors. What in the world are they going to do? Well, it's got a flower on it, just like a sunflower, if you let it go. But she don't want it to bloom. She wants it before that. Okay? Just pick it up like that and cut the stem off. You just buy that little top. It takes a bunch of it to weigh a pound. Okay? She picked it. Well, what are you, Fred? You don't owe me nothing. You bought the seed, you picked it. You don't owe me nothing. Well, of course, I planted it, and I kept it clean, I grew it, watered it. The main thing is, after you plant it, you water it. If you don't, you're going to lose the seed. Okay? So, I went out there. What are you, Fred? I said, I don't have the slightest idea. Can you imagine? I'm talking to my customer. I'm going to sell it. She's going to buy it. Why not you want, Fred? I don't have the slightest idea. I'm a mean sucker. Okay. She said, how about $30? I said, okay. So I let her have it for $30. In 10 days, I picked it again. Took it out there, $30. But I got more. I picked it again, took it out there, $30. Okay? That's $90 I made that month off of a row 50 foot long. You think I couldn't afford to do that? Why rob her? I made $90 off of a 50 foot row. One row. But I picked it myself. Look at that, cucumbers and squash. Look at these cucumbers. Now here's another tableful of them tomatoes that you didn't see. I usually keep them together, but in showing them, I get them mixed up. There's me and my 2 daughters. Now this is where my garden is, but see, there's nothing planted out there, you know, it's just, that's in the fall, you know, everything's gone. I think that's out to my son's farm. Now here's one here, but that's a lie. They said that weigh 3 pounds, well it won't do it, I can tell you that. See, it's kind of like meat. You ain't gonna fool me on meat. I've cut too much of it. I've seen too much of it. And you're not going to sell me something that I said, that ain't what I told you I wanted. He looked at me so funny. Now, there's another plant. I can't see anymore very good. I don't know what that is.
Some kind of pepper.
Now, look at, you think them rows are straight? You make a row that straight?
I don't think I could, no.
Would you go 6, 7 times to put out a row of tomatoes?
Well, that's cabbage.
If you
See
told
that?
me to.
If I told you to.
See that cabbage plant.
That's cabbage.
And cauliflower.
Now, this is down on my son's farm.
Cabbage and cauliflower.
I don't know what, I think that's a pepper plant. That's a bell pepper. Anyway, well, that's all of them that's any good. The rest of this stuff's just stuff. That's my son's farm. I went down there and raised it. That's where I raised my watermelons. He bought this 80 acres and he blocked it off in 2-acre tracts and he's going to sell tracts. Well, there's a ditch run down through there and it's sandy ground. And there's 2 acres there and he bought some cattle. He bought, I don't know, 11 or 12 cows, put them in there, put them in that lot, and he fed them these round bales of hay. And boy, I said, son, that would sure make watermelons. Well, so he gets a tractor and his disc. He's going to come up there and disc it so I can plant watermelons. Well, that disc wouldn't even cut that hay. That's too much of it on there. So he has to get his backhoe, pull it around, scatter it out, then disc it. Okay. Now, I didn't rototill it. I'm just raising watermelons. I don't care about, it ain't my land. I'm just raising watermelons, But I wanted some good dirt. That'd been laid out for 20 years, Well, they had been growing on it, I mean, you can grow anything. Anyway, that's where I got that truckload of watermelons. It's off of that patch. Now, I didn't raise a lot of tomatoes that year. But can you imagine? You come down there and look at that garden. No weeds, no grass. My yard at the house, absolutely Bermuda grass. Nothing else. Not a weed in it. Not on any other kind of grass in it. Just Bermuda grass. That's all it's there. Okay? People come there. How do you do that?
Well, I'm going to ask you a few questions.
All right.
Thank you.
Well, we want to thank you for sharing your stories and sharing a little bit of your life with us.